What's good, everyone? Welcome back to the show, man. Recap with more. Well, we're getting ready to get into another episode breakdown of Tyler Perry's ZATIMA. But before we get into this thing, make sure to like and subscribe to this channel so you don't miss shit snit that's going down, alright? So the episode we're getting ready to get into is for season 3, episode number 3, titled Decisions. The synopsis states, Nathan tries to convince Fatima to tell Zac the truth about Jeremiah, and Zac gets a major offer from an unexpected source. Disaster strikes when Bryce interrupts Angela's date night. Now that we got that out of the way, let's go ahead and get into this thing. Alright, y'all, so we kicked this episode off where we left off with Zac, who's shooting the Bobo with Connie, Nate, and Tony, right? Now, in the previous episode, Angela had, contacted Fatima to warn her about Connie and the 2 Live crew coming through to see Zac or whatnot, and to tell him about Jeremiah allegedly putting his hands on Fatima. Now, Fatima tells Angela that she hadn't heard anything from Zac, but she would keep an eye out or whatnot. So Angela is like, okay, well, maybe he'll, be there shortly or whatnot. So as she's saying that, Fatima decides to walk over to the front door, looks out, and sees Zac talking with Connie and the 2 Live crew, right? So she's like, dang, like they already outside. Let me go ahead and get off the phone. Whoa, right? So that brings us to where we are now, where we see Fatima going out to make sure that they don't say anything to make Zac want to throw hands, right? So when she comes over towards Zac, she's like, hey, what's going on? Zac tells her that Connie, Nate, and Tony were just coming through to talk, to talk to him about something, right? But Fatima looks at all of them and she's like, well, whatever it is, I'm sure that it can wait. Looking directly at Nate, right? And I'm like, dang, she done called old boy out. And for good reason. Because after Fatima says what she says, both Connie and Tony, they're like, okay, we got you. But not Nate, not Nathan. He's like, we didn't come all the way over here to say nothing. Nope, he deserves to know. But Tony is like, no, bro. I think that we should just hold up just for a little bit. We could talk later. But now, due to all the back and forth, Zac is like, hey, bro, you can tell me now. Go ahead and tell me now, right? Now, while they're saying all of this, cars are pulling up. I think it's like 2 cars pulling up at the same daggone time. All while all of this is going on, and I'm like, please God, please don't let one of these cars have Jeremiah pulling up inside, right? Because all hell is gonna break loose. We already know. And honestly, in my heart, I felt if Jeremiah was in one of those cars and he would have gotten out of there, I think Nate would have let the cat out of the bag. Honestly, felt like he would, because at that point in time, he had no choice. Because that's what he came there to do. And he's just that dumb enough to let the cat out of the bag in that situation, in that moment, right? And then regret it later. That's honestly how I felt, man. But with that being said, moving on, it didn't happen. I'm glad that it didn't happen at that point in time. And I'm actually glad that it was Angela and Belinda. Well, was I? Because that's when some of the drama really started to pick up a little bit, because Angela, of course, when she sees Belinda, she's like, girl, what you doing over here? Belinda lies and says that she's coming over to, check in on her good friend Fatima. Now, of course, Fatima already knows what it is. She's shutting that down, telling her, look, I don't need you here. As a matter of fact, you can go as well, right? Because I already know that you're up to no good. Right? And I'm glad that Fatima is able to stand there 10 toes down and be like, no, we don't need your assistance. Right? So anyhow, as, everybody's getting ready to walk away, Fatima's getting ready to walk back inside the house. Here comes Angela talking about, so did y'all tell Zac? So Fatima has to run back over because she's like, no, you need to shut that down. Because I'm quite sure Zac is still downstairs somewhere. I don't think he's gone upstairs. So I'm quite sure he can still hear what's being stated outside if they don't keep their voices down. So, of course, Fatima runs back over. She's like, no, we ain't said a word, right? Now, as they're all standing there, we see Nate talking about, Fatima, you wrong, Fatima. You should have let us tell him about Jeremiah. Fatima's like, for what? So he can go back to jail? Nate is like, Fatima, who are you trying to protect? It's just like, I'm trying to protect your boy Zac, as we all should out here, right? And I absolutely agree. Sometimes the right thing ain't the right thing to say at the right time or at the wrong time. Y'all know what I'm saying, daggone it. It's late. Y'all got it. Y'all got what I was trying to say. Sometimes the right thing ain't good to say at the wrong time. Sometimes you gotta wait, right? And that's where we are in this situation. I mean, tonight ain't the night. He just lost his mom's, and then you gonna come in here and tell him that his brother, that has already caused some friction within the household, has now allegedly put his hands on his woman, on his fiance. You're looking for some problems, and I'm telling you right now, what you're looking for ain't gonna be good. It's not gonna be good for anybody, specifically not for Zac. Because once he finds out, it's gonna be some furniture moving around this place. Alright? So, Nate is sitting over here talking about, look, we know him, Fatima. That's my homeboy. We know him. And Fatima is looking at him like, bro, you don't think I know him? I know him better than you. And he's like, for real? And laughing. And Fatima looks back at him and she asked him, well, are you sleeping with him? And I was like, in the discussion. In the discussion, bro. It's dead. The conversation is dead. There's no way you can come back from that, man. So anyhow, moving on from there, Fatima's like, look, I've had enough, and decides to head back inside the crib or whatnot to check in on Zac as they continue to discuss the situation amongst themselves. I mean, I get it. I mean, Nate feels as if, as a friend, he should be honest with his friend and let him know what's going on. But at the same time, I think that he needs to sit back and think about the consequences that could come from this as well. But he doesn't want Zac to be mad at him. I get that. But you also got to think about Zac as well. Is he mentally prepared to hear this information? Absolutely not. He's not. So anyhow, from there, we head back inside where we see Fatima coming to check in on Zac, who's sitting on the edge of the tub thinking about what Nate had told him, or at least attempted to tell him about his brother Jeremiah. Fatima attempts to take his mind off of Jeremiah, but Zac is wondering why Connie and the 2 Live crew came all the way over there to tell him something, right? Now, of course, Fatima tells him that it's obviously something that he shouldn't worry about at this moment in time, and tells him that he just needs to relax. Now, Zac is like, yo, Fatima, I got a lot that I'm dealing with right now. I mean, I'm planning my mom's funeral right now, but Fatima's like, yo, no worries. I can take that off of you. I can actually plan the funeral for you and get back with you and give you all of that information, which seemed to be a reasonable idea, at least for the moment, because as Fatima is asking him personal information pertaining to his mom, he's not really able to give her what she needs. So, of course, she goes on to the next best thing. She goes on to find a person that can give her what she needs, which happens to be Sister Connie. Now, as she leaves the bathroom, we see Fatima heading downstairs. She gets on Zac's phone and calls Connie, right? So when Connie picks up the phone, seeing that it's Zac, she's like, look, Zac, I don't want any problems with Fatima. Fatima sort of chuckles a little bit, which I did as well. And honestly, I respect that. You know what I'm saying? That seems to me, at least to me, that Connie is respecting her boundaries. She respects Fatima at this moment in time, even though it hasn't always been that way, but she's respecting their relationship. And I'm glad about that situation, right? So anyhow, Fatima tells her that she's cool, don't worry about it. So of course, she was like, okay, what's good? Fatima goes on to ask her if Miss Gladys had a favorite color or whatnot. Connie goes on to say yeah, and tells her that she used to like, these purple flowers that used to grow out in the courtyard or whatnot, which she couldn't think of the name of the flowers, but she would take a picture and send them to Fatima or whatnot. So of course Fatima was like, cool, but that's not really why I called you. Connie's like, okay, what's good? Fatima goes on to ask, how in the world did y'all find out about Jeremiah? And Connie tells her that he was walking around crying and saying that he didn't mean to hurt Fatima. Fatima's like, what? Yeah, that's what he said. Okay, if you happen to see him, tell him to chill out with all that crying around the hood, because you know that the streets be Look, the streets be talking. Even though they say ain't no snitching, ain't nothing, somebody talking. Somebody is telling. They may not be telling the police, but they definitely talking around the neighborhood any daggone way. So as they're getting off the phone, Connie goes on to tell Fatima that she's happy for them and glad that Zac is with someone that holds him down. And you know what else? Fatima's like, what? What else do you got to tell me, right? She says, me and you, we're going to be good friends. We're going to be real good friends. You're going to see, just watch and see. And you know what, honestly, I can see that. Even though Fatima don't want to see that right now, I can foresee that. Because what it sounds like, Connie has already made it up in her mind that they're going to be good friends because she's attached to Zac and they good friends. So yeah, I can definitely see that.
I know my parents love me.
It's a 90s thing. It's a 90s thing. It's a 90s thing. It's a 90s thing. But moving on from there, we head over to Belinda's, where we see Nate sitting down on the couch. She's bringing him something to sip on or whatnot. Now, as he's sitting there trying to get the bottle cap off, she assists him with all of that, trying to entice him to reach out to Zac to tell him about the situation. Now, I'm going to just be transparent about how I feel about their relationship. I don't understand it. I mean, I understand that they're attracted to one another in some sort of way. Maybe it's just physical. Outside of that, there's a lot of manipulation going on here. I'm not sure exactly what's going on here. But what I am certain of is that she's full of drama, and I don't like it. I don't know what's going on here. Why are you trying to make this man reach out to Zac to let him know what's going on? And I'm answering my own daggone question. We know why she's doing it, but why isn't he able to pick up on it? And at some point in time, it felt like he was arriving to that point, but then all of a sudden it just diminished. So I'm like, I'm really not sure what's going on here. I'm really not sure. And I just think that both of them need to get out of this situation as quickly as possible. But I don't foresee that happening. I mean, she got him wrapped around her. He's got her wrapped around him. And you know what? Maybe it's just meant to be two fools in love. Maybe it'll never work, but somehow, some way they are able to blend this relationship that they got together and all the dysfunction. You know what I'm saying? Maybe that's what they're able to do. But anyhow, moving on from there, we now head back over to Fatima and Zac's crib, where we see Fatima studying and whatnot, and is interrupted by a knock on the door, and it just so happens to be Preston coming over to see Zac. Now, Fatima invites him in and tells him that, Zac is actually asleep or whatnot, but as they're talking, we see Zac coming down the steps, and he's like, hold up, what's good? So as Fatima is walking away, Zac turns to Preston, and it's like, what's good, what's going on, man? And Preston is like, dude, you want to go outside? And of course, Zac is sitting here like, no, we good right here. Why we got to go outside? He was like, no, we need to go outside and talk and whatnot, right? So Zac is like, bro, it's cold outside. Why can't we just talk in here? And I'm like, right. So anyhow, they go outside, and as they're going outside, Preston looks at Zac's crib and compliments Zac on how nice his crib is or whatnot. And Zac is like, yeah, I hope I can keep it, talking about his finances, right? So Preston is like, bro, is it that bad? Zac is like, yeah, like old boy took all of my money. And Preston is like, yeah, I know, but I also understand why he made the investment, which totally threw Zac off, right? So he's like, hold on, wait a minute. What did he say to you? Preston is like, he didn't say anything to me. So Zac is like, okay, I get all of that. I get the point that he was trying to make and all of that good stuff. But the point is, when he asked me, I said, no, absolutely not. And he didn't listen to me, and he took all of my money. He took 1.5 million of my money without my permission. So Preston is like, okay, so you need 2.7 million to to keep your business afloat, right? Zac is like, yeah, $2.7 million, not 2.7 million cows. And what did I tell you in my previous episode recap? Preston was asking all these questions, and I'm like, bro, are you about to bring some money to the table? Which he does. And all he wants is 33% of the building on the deal. But Zac is like, wait, I can't continue to work with old boy. I can't trust him, right? But Preston is like, look, the deal is already done. So there's no need to argue back and forth. Just work the thing out. And I'm right there with Preston. And, I said a little bit in the previous episode breakdown, like, bro, you asking too many questions, but he came through on this. He came through. Zac didn't know who he was talking to, but when he was asking about the paperwork, I said, oh, he got something. He got something, and all he's asking for is 33%, right? So Zac is still in complete disbelief right now, but also wants to know if Danny knew that he had that type of money. And now, of course, Preston is like, heck no, bro. No. Zac calls Fatima out to inform her of the good news or whatnot. Of course, she's also surprised to find out that Preston had that type of money laying around somewhere. So, of course, after that short celebration, Fatima then turns to Zac and is like, hold on, wait a minute. So when are you going to call Bryce? To let him know that you got the money. He was like, no, we're going to hold off on that a little bit. I'm going to let him stress the same way I had to stress. Now, I've already said in the earlier part of this breakdown, I don't agree with that, but that's what Zac decides to do, right? So anyhow, from there, we head back over to Angela's to see Angela and old boy Sean still enjoying one another's company or whatnot, but it's shortly lived because old boy Sean can't call her the correct name, right? Donna, Lisa, Sabrina, Ratisha, you know what I'm saying? So finally, she's like, look, I've had enough, and politely tells him that it's time for him to go. I will call you when I need your services once again, right? Because Sean is trying to get her to admit that she likes him. But she tells him that she enjoys being single and free to freaking mingle, right? And she does what she wants to do. And Sean is like, okay, well, since you're free, go ahead and deal with that situation outside. Well, we hear someone blowing up the horn. Guess who it is? Absolutely, Bryce, right? So Angela runs outside to confront him. Bryce gets out of his car to talk with her. And she's like, look, Bryce, I told you already that I had company coming through. And then all of a sudden, Bryce loses it, right? And he begins to elevate his voice, tells her that nobody cares about her, that his father felt as if he was a failure and all of this stuff, whoop, 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 and decides to jump back in his car, drives off, swerving down the street and hits somebody head on, right? So, of course, we see, Angela crying out for Bryce and all of this stuff and runs over, and that's where the episode ends. So, as always, thank you guys for checking out the recap. Make sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss shit snit that's going down. Be on the lookout for some other episodes breaking soon. I got to get caught up so I can get into season number 4, right? So, stay tuned. Talk to y'all later. Peace.